Welcome to another episode of Ask Dubey. I'm here in beautiful Secaucus, New Jersey, out doing some NHL Network stuff, which you guys can check out actually on Sportsnet. NHL Now tomorrow is on Sportsnet for the first hour in Canada, so check it out. As always, please get your questions in. We've been a little light on questions lately, so please get them in. Hashtag Ask Dubey on any of the Oilers Nation social media, or drop your question in the comment section below here or on any of the other programs, and we will definitely get to them. I love answering them, so please keep them coming. This show is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Now let's jump right into the Oilers here. Huge game last game, and huge for so many reasons. Wasn't looking good as the game went on. Obviously, we had the 9-1 shellacking at home, which if you lose 1-0 or 9-1, it's the same thing in the loss column. But obviously, that was an embarrassing one for the Oilers going up against the Avalanche. Huge test. Avalanche is obviously arguably the best team in the league right now, and they didn't step up, so they wanted to answer, and it didn't really look like they were going to get that answer against Columbus. Wasn't a bad game, wasn't a good game. They were down 4-2 or 3-2 and then 4-2. And if it wasn't for a heroic effort by Connor McDavid, I mean, he said before, enough is enough. And the Oilers are lucky to have somebody as special as him that can go out there and not only score 2 goals, but score 2 absolutely incredible goals and just will this team back in. They get a lucky bounce on Wallman's tire. And then I think if you go to overtime, it really couldn't have finished off any better for Edmonton. You have Stu Skinner, who obviously struggling coming off that 9-1 game, 4 against on 19 shots at that point, I believe. And, we talk over and over and over about it being difficult to play in Edmonton, and it was piling on for Stu. And instead he gets to go to overtime, and what does he do? He comes up super clutch in overtime, makes an incredible save, and they go right back down the ice and score. And just like that, we're going from really dismal feeling in the room, feeling it with the guys. If you drop that game after a 9-1 loss, you drop that game at home in regulation, things really aren't feeling good. And then you got to go out on this long 7-game Eastern swing. They would have been in tough. And it's amazing just how much of a difference 10 minutes of hockey can make, or however much it was, 10 or 15 minutes of hockey. Now they're going out with some new life, some new hope, some good feelings in the room after a huge emotional comeback win. And now they get to go out and see if they can use that against Philadelphia tonight and get this trip off right, knowing that a huge piece is coming back in Zach Hyman. So a win at home against Columbus in November usually isn't one that you mark, but I think this one just might be one that the Oilers mark, hopefully, as a spark going forward, maybe something that they look back on throughout the year as kind of a turning point for them. But we will see if that happens here in Philadelphia. And to that, let's get to the questions. Okay, first question from Liam Carroll 2432, hashtag Ask Dubey. Is there an element of back to the basics the Oilers need to return to? They are, of course, some of the best athletes on earth and can outperform any of us just watching the game. However, can trying to constantly be too fancy be biting them a little bit? Are other teams looking out for the fancy plays they keep making and planning a counterattack for those high-risk plays? Tough to say. I think, maybe not back to the basics, but getting to that Oilers identity and figuring out what that is for them this year. I think when things start to go sideways or aren't going the way that you want them to, you can start to try a little too much, a little too hard, try to make plays that aren't there. If you're guys that aren't scoring goals, that are expected to score goals, forcing plays that aren't there. And that can have a negative effect on the game that's not just that play in general, but that turnover then can cause you to spend extra time in your D zone, which you might be squeezing your stick at that same time as well. So just, a little bit of back to basics, but back to Oilers hockey and how they're going to play and not forcing plays and just really being prepared all the way throughout the lineup every time the next group steps over the boards to bring what it is that they're expected to bring. from goaltending to defense all the way out. And we know how good the Oilers can be when they play their game, when they're moving the puck, when they're getting the puck in the forwards' hands, dominating the offensive zone with puck possession, not turning the puck over by trying to force offensive plays, and then getting the power play buzzing. And that's what I expect to see out of the Oilers going forward. So I don't think other teams plan for it, but if it's the only thing you're doing, or you're forcing these high-end, high offensive, high danger plays, if you're forcing them when they're not there, it falls into the other team's favor, because they will, if they're defending decently, they will stop them and go the other way. And if that's all you're trying for and not kind of creating chaos, sometimes you don't just throw shots on net anymore in the NHL. It's not a thing. It's considered a turnover. But sometimes you do have to just create chaos. You have to create shots, create some confusion, some chaos at the net with puck retrievals, shots on net, puck retrievals, kick it back around, get the other team in disarray. And that a lot of times opens up those high danger chances and the ability for the Oilers' best players to make those plays. And, like I said before, fortunately they have Connor McDavid, who can basically do that on his own, but he is one of a kind. They need to get the whole team going, of just getting some flow, not forcing plays that aren't there. And hopefully that translates into team defense as well, because team defense is also puck possession, extended puck possession through the neutral zone, in the offensive zone. The other team doesn't score when you have possession of the puck and constant possession of the puck, and they have to be playing their end and don't get to come the other way. That's also one way to play defense. So I think hopefully we can see that out of the Oilers going forward here. And I suspect we will, especially Zach Hyman. I know he's one guy, but he fills out that lineup. He balances out the lineup, and he brings so many intangibles to this team that we know about. His energy level, the hitting, the goal scoring, he kind of brings a little bit of everything, and we know how much he's loved in that room. So I think this is something, if the Oilers can get a win or two here before his comeback, he's going to be a huge spark, and I think we'll start to see him get on a roll here. All right, next question from self-proclaimed lifelong friend here, Lance Does Stuff Kane. Hashtag Ask Dubey. Hello, my lifelong friend Dubey. Equipment question here. Is there a proper way to determine the proper length for a toe tie, or is it just preference? And is lace or bungee the way to go on toe ties? What length did you use, and were you a lace or bungee guy? Great question for all the goalie nerds out there. I was a lace guy. The bungees didn't really come in until a little, I want to say maybe halfway through my career was kind of the bungee invention. I was used to the toe tie with the laces and used to the way that felt on my foot. The idea of the bungee is that you get a little more length on top as it hugs the pad to your skate. And so your pad sits up higher while still allowing you that ankle and toe movement when you go down. And I just wasn't used to that. I was kind of a grump when it came to changing equipment, so I probably didn't give it a real try. I think that, all the pads have it now, so all the kids are going to be used to it. It's what they're going to be using. I think realistically, that's probably the best performing thing that you're going to have is the bungee, because like I said, it holds your pad up off the ice. It does so that your pad doesn't get caught when you're moving down. Also gives you a little more coverage. 5-hole with your pad sitting up higher. If you are going laces, I used to do about an inch. You don't want to do them too long for that exact reason, or the pad will kind of sit down low. If you see guys that have long toe laces, that front of that pad will almost be dragging on the ice a little bit, and that's not great performance-wise either. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would do about an inch of a knot from the end of the toe to where it would actually tie onto my skate. But realistically, I think if you like the bungees and you can use the bungees performance-wise, they're probably going to be a better choice for you. Okay, next question from, I'm going to butcher this, Patty Zawajkowski. I think that's it. Is it reasonable to bring up Connor Ingram? Let the competition begin, ? No, it is not reasonable to bring up Connor Ingram for a few reasons. One, he's not doing well in the American League, and that's not saying anything, but Connor's been off for a long time, and I think it's only fair. Is he going to get a chance? I think so. Does he deserve a chance? I think so. And he's going to get it, but you want him to be ready. You want anybody to be ready for that opportunity, and he's taken some time away from hockey, and he's coming back. So you want him to be able to use that time in the American League to make sure that he's ready to go, because we know how great he is. We know how great he can be. We've seen it. But he's got to be at that level. If you bring a guy up when he's not ready and comfortable, you're putting him in a bad situation. You're putting the team in a bad situation. You're also creating some unease between the goalies that isn't really necessary. Now, if you had a guy down in the American League who's lighting it up every game, that's a different story. But once you kind of open that Pandora's box, you can't really close it. And so they're gonna be careful with how they do that. And the Oilers goalies, they need to be better. The team needs to be better defensively as well, more consistent defensively, and that it's like anything. The goalie goes with the team goes with the goalie. It all kind of works together. And so when the team starts playing a little more consistently that way, then we need to start to see the goalies play better. And if that doesn't happen, well, that's an issue. And so hopefully, we talked earlier, this team can get on a roll. Again, down the road, I'm sure that Edmonton is eyeing that possibility, and something that they want to see what they have with Ingram down the road when the time is right. But right now is not the right time. All right, next question from Dr. 9250. Hashtag Ask Dubey if he can come out of retirement for a season. Let me think about this. No. I'm sorry. Do I miss the game? Absolutely, I miss the game. But when you haven't done a butterfly in over a year, I don't know if I'll be getting back up from that. I'm sticking to coaching. I'm enjoying coaching, but I can feel my hips and knees if I demonstrate a few too many butterflies and a few too many pushes to the kids these days. So I'm just trying to help now. I don't think physically I'm quite there. I'm only 39 years old, but you got to stay in, you got to keep those hips and knees and moving and mobile. And I certainly haven't done that on the ice. And there's only a few Marc-Andre Fleury's out there that can still be kicking at his age and doing it at a high level. And he's pretty amazing. But, I'd love to get in there. I do miss the game. It's a whole lot easier to watch it from a distance. And you always got to remind yourself, what it's like to see these plays, how hard these guys shoot, how good they are, all this stuff. And it's hard. It's a hard game. It's hard to be a goalie. And so I always try to keep that mindset when I'm talking about goalies and remembering the struggles and the ups and downs and going through this stuff. And I certainly do miss it, but unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I'm in no position to be making a comeback. Next question from It's Was. How much does save percentage matter to a goalie if his team is winning games? That's a great question. Not nearly as much as it does when you're not winning games. You feel better having an 890 and being 5-0 than you do having a 940 and being 0-5. That's for sure. You definitely would like to find an in between there. You'd love to be a 920 and be 5-0, but when you're winning hockey games, save percentage is a funny thing, and save percentages are down this year. The league average is below 900, which is pretty strange, and it's certainly not a lack of talent or skill with goalies. I think games continuing to change, just continuing to evolve offensively, both in creativity, skill level, execution, all of these things, the way the game's played. Not as many low-quality shots towards the net. They're kind of viewed as turnovers now, so there's not nearly as many just pucks thrown at the net that you get to feel it out and see, which definitely makes it more difficult. You have to try to step back and look at, what is that save percentage? If you've given up, are you giving up 3 on 25, and you're just kind of one off, and you're winning games 4-3. Are you giving up 2? Is your team only giving up 16 or 17 shots and you're giving up 2? And then you're still going to be below 900. It's tough to say. You at the end of the day, you just want to go review the goals. You're always going to go, let's look back on the game. Let's review the goals and figure out which ones I should have stopped, could have stopped, should have stopped. 2 different things. I always like to go back and look and say I could have stopped all of them, and I wanted to watch video and review with the thought process of that I could, what could I have done to stop these. And then you have are there goals that you should have stopped? Of course, I could have stopped them, but was it realistic? Not always. But if I'm constantly going into a game, reviewing a game, and there's a goal in that game that I should have stopped or quite possibly could have stopped, those are things that you want to look at it. Okay, how can I clean it up? It's one goal every 2 games, one goal every 3 games less, and I'm back to where I should be. And so, again, I kind of got away from the wins and losses, save percentage, all that kind of stuff. But that's really where the mindset needs to be. You have to be happy that you're winning hockey games, and you should. But that's kind of the overall result. And during a season, you want to continue to focus on little things that are going to get you that overall result, and that's really narrowing it down to goal by goal, and how are you moving, how are you managing the game, how are you controlling the game for your team, your rebounds, are you scrambly back there, are you calming things down, or are you making things worse? All of these kind of things that you should be looking at, and not just a number, because sometimes, I could make, a lot of times I had 40 shots in a game, and it was an easier game than a game that I had 22 shots. Because if I face 15 scoring chances in a game with 40 shots, I'm going to feel better about those 15 scoring chances than a game that I have 15 scoring chances and I only had 21 shots. That means six shots that I saw only were not high danger scoring chances. So, again, things you can't control, you have to find a way to operate in all of these different scenarios and find a way to come up with wins for your team. But you try your best to eliminate the specific numbers, and know that if you focus on what you're doing and make the saves that you should make, some that you shouldn't make, then at the end of the day, all those numbers should work out. All right, guys, that's it for another episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for all your questions. Again, one more reminder, please get your questions in. Drop them in the comment section below or on any of the Oilers Nation shows with the hashtag AskDubey, and we will get to them. Keep them coming, please. This segment brought to you by our friends at Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products are in the Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, Wilhauk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. It is so good. Wilhauk Beef Jerky gladly fills out orders of any size. Find their beef jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location, or you can order online. Get your jerky on. For more info, go to wilhaukbeefjerky.com.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.